If the market has been kicking you in the teeth, this video is for you. Welcome back to the Revan Trading channel. This video is for users of our Patreon and Discord. If you are not familiar with our Patreon and you're not familiar with the indicators that we are using or the algorithm that we are using, well, you are welcome to check out the link in the description below to become a member and to get access to all of these tools. I have been very busy recently building plenty of new tools and strategies that I am very excited to release in the near future. But before we get into those, this video is just going to be looking at optimizing strategies that have what I would consider gone bad or become irrelevant or lost their edge, so on and so forth. So I've had a few members message me recently saying that their strategies have not been performing as they hope. One member especially has been really having a hard time over the last few months and is quite a bit in the red. So it is, first of all, very important to note strategies absolutely will go bad. Everything has a shelf life. The lower the time frame, the faster the shelf life. And even if they're tested, like these strategies that I build are tested on the full history of the asset, Bitcoin or so on, there still will always be a new market period, a new market regime where things start trading differently. So it is important to understand and to note when things start going sideways and down, like you've seen since June of this year. We have seen a lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. So this strategy has absolutely expired. Its shelf life is gone and it needs revamping. I can't stress enough, this is probably the most important skill to have. If you are a trader, if you're going to be currently trading with any of our tools, it is so important to know how to do this. And if you spend just a little bit of time on this, maybe 2 hours to 8 hours, you can optimize a strategy, and you can, especially over a few weeks or months of doing that here and there, you can learn to do it so fast and it will last for months and months to come. Now, this strategy I posted a full year ago. It's using the Bumper Bands 30, which is our oldest version, or literally the oldest version of the Bumper Bands, one of the first tools that I ever built. And the tool still works great, but the strategy itself needs optimizing. And so I'm going to jump on into doing that. But again, if you're following along in this video, please don't just copy what I do. You can do that, but go out and learn the skill for yourself. All right, I had to pause the video and restart because in TradingView fashion, the freaking idiotic platform that it is, there is a glitch where if I update the bumper bands, the skeleton key just sits here and spins and the actual strategy never updates until I save and refresh the page. So the only way to get actual updates to go through, say I want to change the length up or down, is to change it, to save it, and then to refresh it, and then it will load just fine. So fortunately this video, I'm gonna have to do that a few times. Seems like other things are fine, but let's jump into optimizing. So the strategy is built on the bumper bands as the base indicator, close below the support band for an entry, close above the resistance band for an exit, and it cross-references the BBWP threshold. So that's what that BBWP is for, the slope of that BBWP, and then the slope of the PMARP. Then we also have a few weekdays, so it doesn't trade on Thursdays between this time and Sundays between this time, so it takes some days out. Now this strategy is built on 4 main indicators and obviously the weekday. I like to generally try to build strategies on 2 to 3. The more indicators you build it on, the faster or the possibility that it will go bad faster or become outdated faster. So we'll see which ones are actually the most important. So again, if I was really optimizing this, going to take the 3 to 5 to 8 hours to optimize this, I would go through meticulously each indicator and really learn how it's helping, how it's hurting, and all of these things. But again, I'm going to do a really fast overview of it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save here because again, we've got the skeleton key just sitting there in the background. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to open it in a few other tabs. So now I have 4 tabs open and I can go back and forth and make different changes to each one of them. Now it gets really confusing if you're making completely random changes in each of them, but you can keep a system, or at least I like to keep a system where I change the same setting a little bit differently. So maybe on the time factor on 1, I'll go to -1. Again, I have to save and refresh. And then on another tab, I'll go to the time factor and I'll go +1, Again, just gonna have to save and refresh. And then on my third tab, I'll go plus +2 and -2, or I'll kind of work on the exact same setting, just moving it up or down, and then kind of look at and compare to what's going on. So we can see that I'll generally look at drawdown, I'll look at total P&L, and I'll look at the equity curve, especially recently. So if we look at our equity curve recently, and let's use this one as our base, this is the one we're starting from. Here it's 113, and our equity curve is looking like that. This one's 111 with the same amount of drawdown. This one is 113, so it looks about the same. I guess it's a little bit higher profit factor, but not a whole lot better. So I might go again. I'll go +2 maybe, and I'll hit save and refresh there. And so I'll keep going through each thing one by one until if I find something that's better, I'll deep back test it a little bit further to get a little bit more data. And if it works okay in deep back testing compared to the current one in deep back testing, then we might have something. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at a few other things, and then I will, in my own time, optimize this strategy and post it. But please, again, in your time, do go through your strategies and just get a feel for optimizing and give it a try. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at BBWP, and we're going to leave all the settings on. Another thing that I might do when I'm optimizing is remove most of the indicators but the base indicator, or maybe the base indicator +1, and optimize that way. That way you're building on a really strong foundation. Now obviously if you remove a bunch of these indicators down to the base layer, it's going to look really, really awful for a while, and that's going to be the slow and painstaking process of optimizing the bumper bands 1 or 2 numbers at a time and finding the best settings for those. It'll still probably look fairly bad until you add a cross-reference indicator with the BBWP, and then it'll look even better if you add a third one like the slope. But again, for today, we're just going to look at really fast optimization. So what I'm going to look at is changing the BWP settings in here just to see if we can get something that's a little bit more looks a little bit better. So I'm going to change that to 13, and I'm going to actually open a couple tabs here and go through and change each one a little bit more. So I'll go to 13, I'll go to 15, then I'll go to 17. Okay, so on our one that we went to 13, it is actually already starting to look a little bit better. Profit factor is better, though our P&L is about the same. On 15, its P&L is even better. Let's do one more, and that's going to 17. Let's go ahead and take this one that was on 13. I'm going to go all the way up to 19 just to see what that does. We'll look at 17. 17 compared to 15. 17 is a little bit worse, so it's a bit more trades, and it is profitable more recently, so that might be something to keep an eye on. Okay, so here we have our winner. 19 already is much better than the rest. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to save this one because it's better. Then I'm going to refresh the other pages. And again, this kind of helps me make sure I'm working from the same base starting place, because I have made mistakes many times in the past where I started adjusting other settings, and I was looking at 2 different tabs that had vastly different settings accidentally because I wasn't keeping track of what was what. So it's important for me to save and then refresh all the tabs so that I'm working from the same base tab again. Okay, so now all of these have the BBWP at 19, and we can try, the next thing we'll try here is going up in, we'll take this up, the threshold up. Maybe on this one we'll take the threshold down. And on the last one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take the, I'm going to go up, and I'm going to take the bars valid away just to see the result. Let's start comparing to see what we have here. Okay, so on our one where we went up to 28, it's looking a little bit better. Our yearly is not quite as good. Our total P&L is a little bit better, and our profit factor is a little bit better. And going up to, was this 28 or 30? Oh, this was down. So going down definitely is not right. So I might go to 30 just to see. And then taking the bars valid away, that's not looking any better. So I'm just going to go ahead and refresh this page back to the standard one. Okay, so looks like going up to 30 here is actually worse. And so because it looks like we're kind of moving in the wrong direction, even though that's a little bit better, going up to 30 is definitely not better. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it because I have more trades. I'm going to leave it at 20, what was it at, 26 or 28? Yeah, I'm going to leave it at 26. So I'm going to go ahead and just refresh these, and we'll kind of go from there again. So yeah, our BBWP has been updated a little bit. Something definitely to look at is weekdays. So we're going to take our weekday filter off on each of them, just completely off. And then on another one, we might just adjust our weekday hours a little bit. I'll go down by 2 or 4 hours. Let's just go down to 15:30 here. And on this one, let's actually take it up to maybe 3 o'clock. Again, just kind of really rushing through this to get a general idea of what's going on. It looks like taking the weekday filter, it actually makes some of these highs a little bit better. So it definitely is worse in the past. It looks like, but for some months it's better, some months it's worse. So that is definitely something that could be worked on and optimized. Though the P&L is lower, I am looking at this equity curve as being a little bit better because we only have one lower low currently, and we're working on our second possible lower low. But that definitely has somewhat of an impact. So our weekday filter absolutely could have an effect. All right, the next thing we're going to update is the bumper band's external source C. So I have this third source where the low has to be less than the support band by an extra 0.16%. So that's taking 0.16 away from the low. So you can do it two ways. You can put 1.6 here so that it makes the low positively affected, or you can make the bumper band affected. So this is source 2 is affecting the bumper band. So it's taking the bumper bands, effectively taking the bumper bands down by an extra 1.6. I'm actually going to take this to close, and I'm going to put this at 0.12. I messed around with that a second ago and found that that was a bit better setting. I don't know how this back tests, and this is a little bit more of an experimental part of the bumper bands. So it could be something that helps us out, and indeed it does. Definitely the year's looking better. We have only now one lower high and one lower low. So we're getting there. However, recently we still we had some major losses here. I want to look at the buy and hold and see what happened over here. So at least our major losses, we are seeing that the buy and hold went down. So it probably got in a couple trades here. Now we might not be able to fully get rid of that, and that's okay. You are going to absolutely have some drawbacks here and there, and so you're not looking to get rid of your drawbacks altogether. You're looking to generally optimize the equity curve over time, and I found that actually having some realistic drawbacks in there is helpful because I can over optimize the strategy so it looks absolutely perfect, and it will forward test like shit. Like it just won't work in forward testing because I've so over optimized it. So it's not to say that you don't want to try to get rid of some drawdowns here and there if you can, but it's best to do that by adjusting risk and still taking losses, because no strategy is perfect, and they will take losses. And if you have a strategy that looks perfect, it's probably over optimized. So again, this is just a little bit of experience here, saying like this strategy is actually looking pretty healthy now, because it's generally moving up to the left. And yes, we saw some major hits right here, and we can see if we can adjust our risk settings to get rid of those and help maybe get out of trades at better times. Maybe we can take out the PMARP and look if that's really helping. That would be something I would be interested in knowing. If I just completely get rid of that, are we going to get better than 138 with the profit factor here? And mainly what I'm trying to adjust now is our equity curve. Okay, it actually looks like it got worse, so this is still helping, and it is actually helping in real time because we saw current trades, or really recent trades, get better. So that's good news. That is still working great. So I took my max take profit down to 2, and it did help the equity curve in general over the recent history. It definitely still has some choppy periods, and it didn't really help with our big losses over here. So those obviously were not trades that could have gotten out at much profit, because 2% is fairly tight for Bitcoin. So I don't. That's up to you if you want to maybe get out of some trades a little bit faster. It does help your max drawdown a little bit. So taking your take profit down might help your strategy, but in the long run, it might get you out of some winning trades a little earlier than you want. I'm actually going to take off ER risk and my max stop loss and my max take profit just to see, with all these settings off, what we look like. Okay, so taking off all the risk actually did help our equity curve a decent amount. Now we're probably going to have some major drawdowns in our or major swings. You can see the max drawdown isn't that high, but that's not fully showing your swings. So you might have a trade that held a trade through a 10% loss and then got out at a 5% loss or something like that. But we do see that we're doing a little bit better on our big drawdown over here, and our total P&L is a bit higher. So the emergency risk stop loss could be something to adjust. So there's still really plenty of ways to adjust this strategy and optimize it more, whether it's adjusting risk or using the break even, or even getting into the BBWP slope, as we didn't look at adjusting that yet. But you can see it's a pretty big improvement, though the strategy is definitely still down and to the left since August. Let's go ahead and throw a time filter on here just to see the exact results just since August. And you can see it's down -9%, which is not great. If I put on buy and hold, though, we're not doing too much worse than buy and hold. And for a really volatile period of the market, that's going to happen at some point where sometimes where you can't get. Throwing on buy and hold, you can see that we're not doing too much worse than buy and hold, and for how volatile the market has been, and you can see that since August, we're down about -9% even on this strategy. Again, could probably be optimized a bit more. And if I throw on buy and hold, you can see we're doing just a bit worse than buy and hold. So with a bit more optimization, there are absolutely ways to get the strategy back in shape and running. But feel free to dive in and optimize these strategies yourself. I think really growing that skill will be helpful to all the traders here. And feel free to share your results. I'll see you guys in the next video.